What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and today we got an injury report for the New York Giants. Yeah, this is the first official injury report of the regular season for Big Blue. It's exciting. It's a signal that, hey, football is back, baby. It's here. The Giants play a regular season game this upcoming Sunday versus the Washington Commanders. And today, the practice report dropped for not only the Giants, but also for Washington. So we're going to go ahead and react to it, discuss what it means for both teams, and also talk about Andrew Thomas being limited in practice. What does that mean for his status in week one? And what does that mean for the New York Giants, especially if Thomas is unable to play on Sunday? So we'll waste no more time. We'll dive right in. And I'll also say this, there were some presser takeaways and some presser points from Brian Dable and some other players who spoke to the media today. So I'm going to bake in some of those quotes in this episode. But we're going to take a look at the injury report to kick this thing off, and we're going to start on the side of the Washington Commanders. They had several players on the injury report, including Marcus Mariota, who was a full participant, Matt Gay, their kicker, who was a full participant, Jonathan Jones, one of their cornerbacks, was a limited participant as he's dealing with a hamstring injury, wide receiver Noah Brown, this is their number 2 receiver on the outside, limited participant with a knee injury. Edge rusher / defensive end Doris Armstrong, knee injury, limited in practice. And tight end Zach Ertz did not participate, not injury related though, a rest day for the veteran tight end. So there are some weaknesses right there off the bat that we could try and expose for the Washington Commanders from the perspective of the Giants. I mean, if Dorrance Armstrong isn't playing, that could potentially in some ways cancel out Andrew Thomas not being on the field, Dorrance Armstrong being a starting pass rusher in that defense. I think a big one to circle, though, is Noah Brown, wide receiver, dealing with a knee injury and a limited participant. I don't think he's going to play. There's a chance at least that he doesn't. And if that's the case, easier assignment and matchup for Deonte Banks. Obviously, the number 1 cornerback on this team is going to face Terry McLaurin, their number 1 wide receiver, one of the best receivers in the NFL, arguably. But opposite him, Noah Brown, not exactly the strongest opponent anyway, not one of these premier number 2 receivers. And I'm not factoring Deebo Samuel into that equation, guys, to clarify, because he primarily plays out of the slot, and that's the intention for Washington. They're going to have him running out of the slot. So when you're looking at Noah Brown as a potential absent player on Sunday, that could be really beneficial for the likes of Cordell Flott / Deonte Banks, as those two compete for that number 2 cornerback job and prepare to face off against perhaps a weakened WR2 for the Washington Commanders. So definitely important to notice. And also cornerback Jonathan Jones. I think this is an important one to take note of. If the Washington Commanders are without one of their top cornerbacks, because Jonathan Jones is a starter in that defense, if he's not ready to go, that could certainly open things up for Darius Slayton, the number 2 receiver on this team, who I think is in line to have a pretty big year with Russell Wilson throwing the football and as his quarterback. So I'm excited about that, and obviously interested to see who does suit up and who doesn't. The way that these injury reports go is the teams practice on Wednesday and then they practice on Friday. Those are the 2 moments that they have to get these injured guys potentially on the field and see where they are at with their status. So Friday, we will know more about whether or not Jonathan Jones and Noah Brown are going to play on Sunday. But for now, it seems like it's 50-50 up in the air for both of those guys. As it is on the offensive side of the ball here with Andrew Thomas. He is the lone Giant on the injury report. That's fantastic news, right, guys? I mean, the Giants only have 1 player on the injury report. Not fantastic that Andrew Thomas is on it, of course. That's disappointing. But 1 player on the injury report. They went unscathed throughout the entirety of training camp and the preseason. Malik Neighbors, not on the injury report, healthy despite dealing with back pain, with a toe injury, with a shoulder injury, not on the injury report. Theo Johnson was absent from the last couple of weeks of practice. Not on the injury report, full participant today at practice. Cam Scadaboo missed almost the entirety of the preseason, barely played in that final preseason game, dealing with a hamstring injury, not on the injury report. So this is good, positive news for the New York Giants. They are healthy going into week 1, with the exception potentially of Andrew Thomas. Now, Andrew Thomas is a little bit of a tricky situation here for the Giants because he was a limited participant in today's practice as he still recovers from this foot injury, but he is working back onto the field. He has been practicing over the last couple of weeks. In fact, when he returned to the practice field, he did return with a full participation practice. He was then limited in the following practice, and then the Giants had a little bit of time off, and now he's back limited. There is a chance that Andrew Thomas does play this week, but in my opinion, he probably will not unless on Friday at that practice, he is a full participant. So we're going to have to keep an updating eye on this here on Fireside Giants and see whether or not Andrew Thomas does play or does practice on Friday. That should determine his game status for this upcoming Sunday. So we all know Andrew Thomas, one of the most important players on the New York Giants, blindside protector, left tackle, who has missed a lot of time due to injuries in his career, and in particular missed a lot of time in the last 2 seasons. He's missed a total of 18 games over the last 2 years. That's more games than the Giants. That's more than half of the games that the Giants have played in that span. He missed 11 games last year due to this Lisfranc injury, his foot injury that required season-ending surgery. And he has returned to the practice field, like we've said, but he doesn't seem quite 100%. Maybe more like 80%. He is running, he is sprinting, he is getting out of his kick step, but is he ready for physical contact? That is a big question mark, and one that the Giants need answered on Friday at that practice. So if Andrew Thomas doesn't play, well, who will be the left tackle? The expectation is that James Hudson will be the left tackle. James Hudson has received a lot of praise this summer from Brian Daboll. Daboll said the other day, this is why we signed him. We signed him so that he could fill in for Andrew Thomas. Paraphrasing, of course. But he did mention that they have full confidence in James Hudson. They've been impressed with him. And if Andrew Thomas is not ready to go in week 1, you can't expect a James Hudson to be the starting left tackle. I know a lot of Giants fans are going to say, well, what about Marcus Bowe? He looked so good in the preseason. You're right. He did, but the Giants do not seem in a hurry to rush him in at left tackle. Yes, he played a lot of his snaps at left tackle during the preseason. I think that was more of, let's see what we have potentially here long term, maybe later in the season or next year if we need to move on from Andrew Thomas. That's why he was playing left tackle, in addition to just being versatile. It's important. But on the unofficial depth chart that dropped yesterday, he wasn't listed as the backup left tackle. He was listed as the 3rd team left tackle and the 2nd team right tackle. So don't expect Marcus Bowe to be the starting LT. Expect it to be James Hudson if Andrew Thomas is not ready to play. So that's kind of the recap on Andrew Thomas, but we're going to dive into some of these quotes that we have here from these Giants players and coaches leading into this week's matchup. But first, just a quick shout out to our sponsor and a message from them. Shout out to DraftKings. What's up, everybody? Anthony here from Fireside Giants. I've teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook this season to offer you all an exclusive promo code to new customers. I feel good about Big Blue this weekend. I can't wait for this weekend's games and to add some extra fun to my Sunday afternoon on the couch while watching football. Although I'll be tuned in watching New York's game, I'll also be watching games from around the league, tracking my bets that I've placed on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. You all know me and how I can nerd out about football stats and analytics, but that helps me put some good thoughts into my bets. And it gives me an extra excuse to watch the weekend's best highlights over and over again. Using the code Fireside Giants, new customers bet $5 to get $300 instantly in bonus bets and $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. One-handed catches, long touchdown runs, and pick sixes. The next great touchdown is coming, and you can bet on it. Head over to DraftKings Sportsbook and sign up using the promo code Fireside Giants today. So big shout out to DraftKings Sportsbook. Thank you for sponsoring this episode. Now back into our New York Giants discussion. We're going to talk about some of the major quotes that we got and storylines that emerged at today's press conference. So for one of the things that we heard from Brian Daboll is that left tackle Andrew Thomas is improving each day. And he said about Theo Johnson, good to go. That was the quote there. So Theo Johnson will be fully integrated into the New York Giants offense on Sunday. This is a player that I'm really excited about. I think he's in line for a breakout campaign. Russell Wilson loves to throw the ball to tight ends, and Theo Johnson has been a standout all summer. Big physical guy. They've been getting him involved with tight end screens, vertical downfield passes. It's been a lot, and it's been very exciting to watch during training camp. And now I'm really excited to see it take shape on the regular season field. So keep an eye on Theo Johnson. He is ready to play this Sunday, and I think that is a big re-addition to this Giants offense. Now, on Russell Wilson's deep passing, Brian Daboll said that Russell Wilson has a good feel for the arc and pace. Quote, he's done it for quite some time. Obviously, that's a part of his game, but there's a lot of other areas of his game that he does well too. And I think that is a testament, of course, to Russell Wilson bringing those explosive plays to the Giants offense. We know he's one of the best deep ball passers in the league. We know we're all excited to see those moon balls to Malik Neighbors. Leak, right? We all want to chant one of those for a big, deep pass downfield to Malik Neighbors on a touchdown in week 1. I'd love to see that happen. And, with Russell Wilson being given the keys to the offense, being told, let that thing rip, there's a good chance we do see some of those deep downfield breakaway touchdowns. Now, assistant head coach / offensive coordinator Mike Kafka has done a, quote, great job, according to Brian Daboll, while calling plays and handling the staff. Daboll says he has a lot of confidence in him and that he's very pleased with the offensive staff heading into week 1. I got to say, I agree. I was really impressed with Mike Kafka this offseason, or this preseason, rather. I thought the play calling was extraordinary. Some of the play designs that he was implementing into this offense were really clever to create open space, not only for runners, but open receivers, and to create time in the pocket for the quarterbacks, namely Jackson Dart. I thought Kafka had a really good pace to his play calling and really allowed his quarterbacks to get into a rhythm with a lot of short, easy completions underneath and then taking the top off the defense shortly after. So I was super impressed with Mike Kafka. I'm really looking forward to seeing Mike Kafka's offense this season. It seems like an upgraded version of 2022. I think he's learned a lot in the 2 years since. And now I'm really excited to see that unfold this upcoming season, especially with some legitimate quarterback talent here for the New York Giants. So looking forward to Mike Kafka, one of my standouts from this preseason. Malik Neighbors was speaking to the media as well. He actually spoke about Jackson Dart today, which I thought was pretty interesting. He told the media what he's been telling Jackson Dart to help him to be a mentor to him and help him through this growth process. He said, quote, day by day, try to get better at something. Once you've got it, you can lead everybody, end quote. And I think that's really exciting stuff. Malik Neighbors developing that relationship with his future franchise quarterback, at least we hope him to be, developing that chemistry already and becoming a mentor to him. This is stuff that's going to be important, maybe not early this year, but maybe later this year if Jackson Dart does see the lineup, or going into next year, we can definitely see that become an important factor. So excited about Jackson Dart and to see him grow this season. Now, Neighbors also spoke about number 3 overall pick Abdul Carter, saying, quote, he can definitely keep up with Jaden Daniels. He's got some wheels on him. He ain't faster than me, and Jaden ain't faster than me, so I know he can keep up, which is a funny quote. You guys know Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels are best friends. They're very tight from their time at LSU together. If anybody's going to give you a good detailed scouting report on Jaden Daniels, it would be Malik Neighbors. And so Neighbors kind of indicating that Abdul Carter is probably going to play that quarterback spy role that we've been talking about on this channel. I did that film breakdown a couple days ago. Actually, I think that was yesterday. I uploaded that on how Jaden Daniels can slow down or can be slowed down by Abdul Carter in that quarterback spy role. So go check out that video if you haven't seen it. But yeah, Abdul Carter to me is the X factor for the New York Giants in this one, and his ability to kind of slow down Jaden Daniels in many ways. Now, Neighbors also said that he's ready to go show the world that he's ready to build on last year, that he feels less anxious going into the season. And he said a great quote, it's game time. Yes, sir. It absolutely is. And I can't wait to see Malik Neighbors during game time on Sunday afternoon. Russell Wilson spoke to the media as well, saying that he's having a lot of fun, saying that mindset and belief is everything. Shout out to the ever inspirational Russell Wilson. And then Theo Johnson did also speak with the media, saying he thinks he's in a great position now to really take off this year, feeling healthy and feeling recovered and hyped up to go into week 1 and be a focal point in the Giants offense. I think a lot of people forget how much of an important piece Theo Johnson became down the stretch there. He had 3 straight games of 50-plus yards prior to having that injury that unfortunately ended his season prematurely, but he was really coming on there down the stretch and becoming a favorite target for the Giants' hodgepodge quarterback room. But now he's got one stable quarterback back there in Russell Wilson for the time being, and I think they've developed a pretty good chemistry this summer. So really excited about Theo Johnson. Now we'll wrap things up here with this quote from Dexter Lawrence. He was asked about the Giants' tough schedule to start the season, and he said, quote, we've got to beat Washington. That's how I'm going to answer that one, end quote. And honestly, I think he's got the right perspective on this. The Giants need to take this 1 week at a time, but also need to understand week 1 is a very crucial moment for this Giants team. If you look at the way that they've played in the last 2 week 1s, it's been sluggish and it's been filthy, ugly. I mean, they've been outscored. What's the statistic? I think that it's 27 68-6. Is that right? Yeah, 40-0 versus the Dallas Cowboys 2 seasons ago. And last season, 28-6 versus the Minnesota Vikings. Unacceptable. The Giants cannot get dog walked in week 1 again. But hey, I think that they played the starters more in the preseason with this exact point in mind. They need to get off to a hot start. They need to beat Washington. If you guys have ever seen the stats on teams that lose in week 1, it's very hard to go to the playoffs if you do lose your first game of the season. But if you win in week 1, your odds of making the postseason, they increase exponentially. So the Giants need to have an understanding of that. Week 1 is, in some ways, a must-win game here. Giants are facing the division in weeks 1 and in week 2. This is very important that they get off to a hot start here. Dexter Lawrence understands that, hoping the rest of the team understands that, and hoping that we see that hot start come to fruition this upcoming Sunday afternoon. But that's pretty much going to wrap this one up, guys. Really excited for this weekend. Can't wait for New York Giants football to be fully back with the regular season. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you listen to Apple or Spotify, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. And thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring this episode. Without further ado, I'll catch you all in the next one. Have a good one. And let's go New York Giants.